In a small village far from the city, lived a kind and beautiful girl named Cinderella. Sadly, Cinderella's father also died shortly after, and she was left to live with her stepmother and stepsisters, enduring harsh treatment and injustice. Cinderella spent most of her time doing hard housework, while her stepmother and stepsisters enjoyed a life of luxury. Despite everything, Cinderella always maintained her kindness and smile. One day, the king announced a grand ball at the palace to celebrate. However, when Cinderella tried to go to the ball, her stepmother and stepsisters prevented her, claiming her clothes were unsuitable. Despite this, Cinderella did not lose hope. That night, while she was crying in the garden, a kind fairy, a friend of her mother, suddenly appeared. The fairy used her magic to transform Cinderella's clothes into a beautiful silk gown and provided her with sparkling glass slippers. She also turned a pumpkin into a magnificent carriage and mice into horses. The fairy said, "You will be stunning at the ball, but remember, you must return before midnight, or everything will revert to its original state." Cinderella went to the palace in her splendid carriage, and she was greeted with admiration from everyone, including the prince. When the prince saw her, he fell in love with her at first sight and danced with her, spending a wonderful time together. Cinderella was running with the prince chasing after her. The prince was determined to find the girl who fit the slipper. The next day, the prince traveled through villages and towns until he reached Cinderella's home. When the stepsisters tried on the slipper, it didn't fit them. Finally, it was Cinderella's turn, and when she wore the slipper, it fit perfectly. The prince immediately recognized Cinderella and asked her to be his wife. Cinderella returned to the palace with the prince, and they lived happily ever after, filled with love and joy. Her stepmother and stepsisters learned an important lesson about kindness and justice. From that day on, Cinderella and the prince lived a life full of happiness and love, becoming a symbol of true love.